Thank you very much, Kalula, and thank you for having me here today. It's great to be able to come and talk to you about what we're doing at the Alliance and how it can potentially support what you're doing in your destinations. So as Kalula mentioned, I'm here to talk to you about the Destination Water Risk Index. What I'll do to start with, though, is just give you a very brief overview of who the Sustainable Hospitality Alliance is, because I don't know that many of you will have necessarily come across us. So we are an organisation which brings together engaged hospitality companies and strategic partners to really try and use the collective action of the industry to drive positive change across, across hospitality, but as we move forwards across kind of the wider travel and tourism industry as well. And we're really trying to deliver impact within local communities and on global issues. So we work with a whole range of companies. Well, members make up about 35% of the global hotel industry by rooms. So we've got 21 world leading hotel companies, which range from the likes of Hilton, Marriott, IHG, who have, I think, about 7,000 properties each, down to smaller hotel chains, which have a couple of hundred, down to our smallest member, which has just one individual hotel. So really trying to get an understanding of the broad depth that there is across the industry. We work with other parts of the value chain as well, so including owners, investors and other partners who you'll see listed out along the bottom of the slide there. And those are different organisations which, although they're not hotel brands, they can help the hotel brands to have that more positive impact and really start to have a more joined up industry approach. We also provide a platform to work with lots of other types of organisations. So we've made various partnerships over the last year. You'll notice UNWTO is up there as one of our key partners that we're working with on a kind of strategic level. But we have a range of different partnerships looking at governments, non-profits, foundations, other sectors and partners who can really, again, we can work with to try and drive positive change across the industry. And what we're working with them on really is to assess the key global challenges that are affecting our planet and its people and prioritise the activities where the hospitality industry can really have that positive impact. We want to, and we believe that the industry as a whole can become net positive, can give back more than it takes, both on the environmental side and on the social side. We align our work with the UN Sustainable Development Goals and work across sort of the broad categories of human rights, youth employment, diversity, equity and inclusion, climate action, water stewardship, which is obviously very important for this call, and responsible resourcing. So when it comes to what we actually do, a lot of what we do is around supporting the industry through the creation of resources and tools that are very practical and can be taken on to help guide what they're doing. And we're really trying to support the industry to embed water stewardship programs to identify ways to address water scarcity and other water risks and improve water use efficiency while reducing the number of people who are impacted by lack of water. So thinking about that kind of, I guess, holistic view of water, the environmental and the social side of that. And we've developed a selection of free practical tools, research and resources to enable hotels to implement effective water stewardship strategies. We've got a hotel water measurement initiative tool, which enables hotels to monitor, measure and benchmark their water usage. And it's currently used by over 30,000 hotels, and it's also been recognised by the UN, the UNDP, as one of the most effective benchmarking tools for the industry that there are. We also have water stewardship guidance, which provides critical guidance on how hotels can actually have a better impact and manage their water consumption within the locations that they are situated. And in 2018, we wanted to really look at how we could support hotels to think about that kind of destination level consideration a little bit more. So to further identify and address water scarcity issues, we partnered with Ecolab, which was the global leader in water, hygiene and energy technology services, and Greenview, which is a sustainability consultancy that really supports the hotel industry on sustainability issues. And we developed the Destination Water Risk Index. And the reasons that we developed this is that we believe that all hotels need to have an understanding and look at how they can reduce their impacts on water. But water risk varies so differently depending on which location you're in. There are different levels of risks and different types of risks that are more important. So we wanted to support hotel companies to understand this and to help them to take part in collective action in high-risk destinations. We also know that travel and tourism as a whole is really growing rapidly, with high levels of development concentrated in particular locations around the world. So we needed to support companies to take that into account and make informed decisions when they were selecting locations for new businesses. And as well as this, we know that climate change is becoming increasingly prevalent, and the areas affected by water scarcity are likely to change as we go through over the next few years or so. So we wanted to really call the attention of the wider tourism industry and all of its stakeholders, including national, local governments, people like that, to water scarcity and the importance of taking a more sustainable approach to water management. And finally, we know that hotel businesses need to be conscious about the impact that they're having within those local destinations. So we wanted to support them to identify which destinations that they're in are particularly at risk, so that they can then prioritise action and implement water stewardship strategies that take account of that. So that's why we created the Destination Water Risk Index. And what it does basically is maps the areas of high water stress against areas of high hotel growth. And in doing that, it really enables companies and investors to explore, assess, and kind of financially value and respond to water risks specific to those current locations, as well as planned operations that they're planning on developing in the next few years. It provides cutting-edge intelligence on water risks throughout the tourism industry and delivers a unique analysis of water risk in key markets that we've identified. And we're really seeking to help hotel companies and their properties, both in the operation and the future development, to really understand the financial implications of the local water risk, because we know that understanding will help to drive action, will get them to take action on things. But that was 2018. Obviously things change over the years. So to ensure that it continues to reflect those realities at the destination level, we worked with Greenview again and also SCR to create the second version of the Destination Water Risk Index. And this really expanded the number of destinations. So the original version of DWRI we created looked at 68. We now incorporate 379 destinations across 63 countries, and we're incorporating additional risk matrices as well. So the risks that we include in the index can be broken down across three broad categories. There's physical risks, including water stress and seasonal variability. There's financial risks, such as the potential for increased costs, as well as thinking about revenue that might be at risk if there was a lack of water that was to have an impact in a destination. And then things like market risks as well, which include the estimated future growth of the industry in destinations and how much more pressure that will start to put on that destination. Data was pulled from 6 different sources. So we worked with the World Resource Institute's Aqueduct Water Risk Atlas, which maps out the water risk across the world and shows how those risks are emerging across the world. the Ecolab Water Risk Monetizer, which is a tool that helps businesses to really understand water-related risks and quantify them in financial terms. And then the Cornell Hotel Sustainability Benchmark, which is the industry's largest benchmark of current water use. And then the other two were STR, which was an industry platform which holds data on the pipeline of the industry, Tourism Economics, which is looking at data forecasts and intelligence on global travel, and then WTTC's intelligence on the contribution that tourism makes to GDP. And while the full report isn't out until next month, I am very pleased to be able to share some of the key findings with you today to really look at where the key risk areas are coming up. So through the analysis, we identified 4 locations that have very high risks. Those were Delhi in India, the Maldives, and then you'll have to excuse my pronunciation, but Qingdao and Xi'an in China. They were all had very high or high physical, financial, and market-based risks. And as you'll notice, they're all based in Asia Pacific. We also found a further 45 destinations that were categorized as having high risk. The majority of the risk destinations are in Asia Pacific, where there's 21 of them, and the Middle East and Africa, where you see 17. There's relatively few in Europe, only 2, and the Americas, there's only 5. So it's probably not a surprise to anyone that the majority of the very high risk and high risk destinations are in Asia Pacific and the Middle East and Africa. But what this report really does is to highlight the need to prioritise these 49 highest risk locations in designing water stewardship strategies, particularly for businesses which are situated within those locations, but also for businesses that have a global presence. That's where they need to be focusing most of their efforts when it comes to water risk issues. I think the slides will be shared, so you will get to see these. So I won't kind of hold on and wait for you to read through all of those, but yeah. And the final report will be coming out shortly anyway. On a regional level, nearly all destinations in the Americas were seen to have very low to moderate risks, with the majority classified as low or very low. Then, as I mentioned, Asia Pacific saw quite a high risk. Overall, the region saw very significant percentages of high or very high, mainly across the financial and the market risk. So I think part of that is to do with the fact that there's such a boom in tourism and development across Asia Pacific. Then in Europe, the majority of destinations were found to have low or very low risks, but it's worth noting that alongside the 2 destinations that were high risk, which I think were Athens and Sicily, there were 9 destinations that presented a moderate risk. So they were Barcelona, Brussels, Dublin, Madrid, Rome, Venice, and Florence. And then the Middle East and Africa region showed a high proportion of destinations with high or very high risk, again, mainly in the market risks, but also in the physical risks. So a high risk of drought, which again is not particularly surprising. But this is, likely due to the arid conditions, the lack of rainfall, things like that. And based on the total score, all destinations in the region were high risk, except for Cairo, Egypt, Myanmar and Bahrain, which have moderate risk. So there really was, as a percentage of the region, a very, very high percentage that are either high risk or very high risk. So as tourism representatives at the destination level, we strongly encourage you to embrace the Destination Water Risk Index and the data that comes out of it. Share it with hotels and businesses in your area to enable them to really look at what they can do. From an owner point of view, they can look at addressing water stress in planning and development, thinking about where they should be developing or perhaps where they shouldn't be developing, or where they should take water stress into account in much more in terms of what types of business or building they're developing. They can identify and plan for future growth in water stressed areas, and also develop informed water stewardship strategies for their portfolios. And for operators, it's about monitoring their risk of exposure from consumption, combining with industry benchmarks. So I mentioned the Hotel Water Measurement Index earlier. They can use that to understand their footprint and think about the relative risks that they have. And then also, again, to develop those informed water stewardship strategies for their portfolios. The full report will be is being finalised. It will be released in March this year, but we're very excited to be able to launch that and to help provide some updated guidance on the destinations that are most at risk. And we're looking to work, I think, as we go forwards with the UNWTO on looking for partners to help inform our update to the index by providing data, insights, and things that can really help kind of bolster this thinking from a destination level. So yeah, please do share our resources with businesses, and if there's anything that we can do with you to kind of help partner up on this and think about the different ways that we can gather insights from you to help inform this risk index, then we would be more than happy to do so. So thank you very much for having me to talk about that today.